Okay, what up ladies and gents, it's your favorite Asian robot, hopefully your favorite DarkTide partner, and I'm here today to talk about the Purgatus staff build. Now I'm also going to tell you right at the start, I may choke a little bit because wash my hands with strong scented soap again before the video. Sorry about that. Okay, now I'm not going to waste your time, I'm going to get straight into this build. For the Purgatus, you're going to notice that we use a very different feat loadout to the other staffs. Why? It's not a brain burst focused build. There's going to be some feats here that are only unique to this build, and I'll explain that as we go along. All right. So column 1. This is where people have to make a choice. You can choose to go Essence Harvest. If you do, then you will be pretty much following my style of play, where you use Psychic Communion and Ascendant Blaze to constantly regenerate toughness from the warp charges you gain. If folks do prefer Quietude as well, I leave the choice to you, alright? But what I do is run Essence Harvest because it just works with this build. Some folks even run Warp Absorption, but that to me is just wild. Okay, column 2. Warp Unleashed is the clear winner. There is no choice in the matter. I've tried all of them. Warp Unleashed outperforms by a mile. Alright? Rack and Ruin doesn't do shit for this build. Inner Tranquility, it's okay, but Warp Unleashed does perform better. Okay, so I'm just going to state that clearly. Warp Unleashed outperforms in this particular build. Next, column 3. This is where it gets dicey. Some folks, they feel that they have no trouble maintaining warp charges without Psychic Communion. I'd say that if you're in that, bracket, please feel free to use the other talents, all right? The other feats, I should say. I prefer Psychic Communion. Why? Because I have trouble maintaining my warp charges. Even with Ascendant Blaze, I feel that the 10% is not enough. So, Psychic Communion, it is. However, if you do not use Psychic Communion, then my recommendation would be Cerebral Lacerations, just for additional Ogryn killing power, additional boss killing power, all right? But I use Psychic Communion, so all the other arguments are moot. All right, column 4. Now, for this one, again, gets a little dicey. Why? Some folks say Mind in Motion, some folks say Kinetic Deflection. Having tried them all, my personal preference is Kinetic Shield, actually. The one reason why I choose Kinetic Shield is because in general with this build, you will be playing at high peril to take advantage of Warp Unleashed, especially knowing that Soul Blaze ticks are affected by Warp Unleashed as well. So Kinetic Shield just does it for me, alright? I'm often at very high perils, so this helps me survive quite a bit. Deflection is useful, but I don't find myself switching to the sword to shield up often enough to take advantage of this. Rather, I just shield up as needed and deflect naturally, using my stamina instead, as and when in those limited situations where I have to deflect. I think that as I've gained more experience, I've gotten better at seeking cover and also dodging the shooter's bullets with my actual dodge. So I find that I don't really need to rely heavily on kinetic deflection. Okay? So that is my take on it. Right, column 5. For this column, again, debatable. All right? Every single choice here is valid. My personal preference is for Wildfire, even though it is currently bugged. Okay, some folks have stated that it does not cause targets to exceed 4 Soul Blaze stacks. Look, if Fatshark patches that, great. If not, also okay, but I found it very useful, in my opinion. To me, this has been one of the best talents for the Purgatus, and having run the others as well, I find that I outperform with Wildfire, even in its bug state. So I choose to run this. You can make your own choice here, but try it for yourself and see what suits you. Wildfire suits me because it just helps me set the world on fire. Ascendant Blaze is the last feat for this build, and it's a must-have. There is no debate on this build for any of the others, all right? I've tried them all. They do not work as well as Ascendant Blaze does. This is a Purgatus loadout. Soul Blaze is your priority. Okay, in terms of your weapon and Curio feats, I'm going to go through Curios first because they're standard. 3 Stam, Toughness Regen, Gonna Resist. 1 wound, toughness regen, gonna resist. You can replace this with another health curio if you feel the need to. Alright, I do not go for toughness curios. Why? Because we toughness gate. In Damnation level, toughness gating is the main way of survival, because 1 hit from everything is gonna delete pretty much all your toughness no matter how much you increase it by. Increasing it by with 2 toughness curios is gonna help you go up to 130 toughness. That's literally gonna get slapped away in about 2-3 hits. And ranged shooters are literally going to shoot that down in seconds. All right, so your survival is dependent on toughness gating and active dodging. So I choose to completely ignore toughness as a stat. I go for health. But for me as well, I always take a wound because I tend to make mistakes. I am not a flawless player. I tend to make mistakes. And because I tend to make mistakes, I take a wound curio just in case. All right. I know many of you are better players than me. Go ahead and take two health curios, you know, if you feel the need to. Last one is health, toughness regen, gonna resist, standard, right? The third perk can be whatever. For my sword, my melee weapon, sorry, I've chosen the Deimos Mark IV Blaze Sword. I find that it works well. Slaughter is a must-have. The other perk can be the other blessing can be anything. In terms of perks, anything goes. I just left it as is and it worked just fine. All I have is unarmored and melee weak spot damage, but I just left it at that and it worked just fine. So I would say with perks, go with whatever you feel comfortable. But blessings, you must have Slaughterer. Okay? That's the must have. And stat-wise, finesse maxed. Alright? Get your finesse as close to 80 as possible. You want the attack speed as much as possible. That, and it increases your weak spot power as well, so it's great. Damage as high as possible, standard. Warp resistance doesn't have to be high. Mobility, try to have it as high as possible. Okay? These 3 are your main priorities. Warp resistance, first target are extras. But between the 2, first target would be the most important. If you can get, like, my ideal would have been to swap first target with warp resistance. If I had first target 80%, this would have been a god roll. And it would be the strongest sword that I've ever owned. All right? But unfortunately, it worked out this way. It still works fine. It still works fine. But I like to have first target because when you're engaging, you know, that one mutant, that one special, having a high first target is just amazing in deleting those you know, rushers. But because this one was so good, I just couldn't give it up. So even with a shitty first target, I kept it. All right. Okay, next for your Purgatus. And I know my pronunciation is going to annoy a lot of people, but I don't really care. I call it whatever I want. All right, for this one, perks. You must have a ranged critical strike chance perk. The other can be anything. I leave that up to you. Why ranged critical strike chance? Okay. Every time you crit, you apply between double to triple stacks of Soul Blaze. I can't figure out the math, but at the very minimum, it's double. All right? So critting is important. That's why Warp Nexus also a must-have. These 2 are must-haves. The rest can be whatever you want. Some people say Warp Flurry is a must-have. I say no. I've been running it with focus channeling, and quite frankly, I've been able to burn hordes with no problem. I have had no trouble literally outperforming in Damnation, high intensity, no issue. Now, stat-wise, damage, cloud radius, burn. These are your 3 priorities, as high as possible. Please, dear Lord. Quell speed, not important anymore because of the quell speed boost. And warp resistance, between the 2, try to get higher warp resistance if you can. Alright, now I'm just going to very quickly demonstrate the reason why I state, alright, before we go on to the gameplay demo, the reason why I state that it's not important to have Warp Flurry is because, assuming that you're playing at high peril, okay, you're gonna burn out your targets like kind of like this. All right. Now I'm gonna do this just to increase my peril. All right. Once you're at this amount, right? In general, you're gonna be playing around this peril level. you will generally be doing something like this. Quell quickly below, and then you do it again. So you don't really need a warp charge to charge up your next thing, because you're gonna usually want to quell below and then burn them out. Okay, something like that. This is the general playstyle with Purg. You just want to keep burning, like that. And you always quell down after. So I find that Warp Flurry is not very useful, in my opinion. But again, I leave that decision up to you guys. Okay? Oh, look at them all burning nicely. It's beautiful. Now, the other thing that I'm going to tell you guys is that with this build, although you don't have fast brain bursts, please do not shy away from using them. Because don't forget, maintaining your warp charges is very important. Exercise is good for your joints. Okay, I'm just joking there. Some of you may catch that reference. But anyway, the main point is you can still use brain burst, although it's slower. Use it on the heavily armored targets. Use it to take out snipers at a long distance. That is very important. And most important of all, okay, I'm gonna have you do a little exercise with me. Okay. Get very used to how far your flames can reach, okay? I'm gonna stand about 16 meters away. Even with max cloud radius, you'll notice that at 16 meters, I'm barely touching the Ogryn. You need to know how far your flames can reach. 13 meters, roughly this distance, is the ideal. But your target is gonna go further than that, so you wanna try and be about this far, okay? The safest distance is about 11 meters. Alright, so which means if you've got a horde coming onto you, alright, you want to be about this distance and you'll be able to burn them out nicely. Okay? This distance is your ideal. Because you'll be able to burn all the ones coming to the front, and those that get knocked back are going to set everybody in the back on fire as well. Which is absolutely lovely and beautiful. Yeah? Keep setting everybody on fire. Let the fire spread endlessly. It's lovely, isn't it? Okay, great. Now that you've understood all that about the Purgatus staff, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Again, I'm so sorry that this went longer than intended. I really didn't intend for this to go so long, but I think it's better to explain these things and have you guys know about it so that you guys know what to do. The gameplay demo is also going to be a bit longer, but please do enjoy. And here's a big thank you to all the channel members that make our stuff possible. Okay, before we go on to the gameplay demo, I always give my members thanks before moving on. If you want to support my channel, like, share, and subscribe. That is so helpful, so important to me. And of course, if you want to help even more, donations are very much appreciated. Memberships are very much appreciated. Those keep our channel running. So, Death Dawning 982 at Plus Ultra, top fan right now. Jerry Fast, Rogue Assassin, Mr. Screen Buff, Zach NFG, all at Prestige. Bravo, special mention for being top tipper. Same with Ripley. Honored Robots, Maze, Bob John, Jammer Boy, Joey, Underpaid Enlisted Soldier, Ripley, Mighty Zeno, Triple D326, Darverse, Cordova, Che D12, I'm Peeps, Syed Assad, Pringle Bread, Twanguet, Valorous, Coda CMF, Kami SMH, Conrad C, Nate the Great, Corey Ryu, Benjamin Savage, Lady Neo. And that's it for now. Also, thank you to all of our cool and weird bots. Enjoy the gameplay showcase, and see you on the Morningstar. There we go. Oh dear. But you see, T4 is, anything can work in T4 because it's too easy. So whenever I test, I'll be testing in Damnation, but don't you worry, the Damnation build will come out when it's ready. In T4, you can literally put any feats together, right, and you will still be able to do well. That's kind of why, like, a lot of people, like, they've said that some builds are really, really good and stuff like that. It's not that I don't believe them, but you can straight away kind of tell that, like, the testing was not done in Damnation at the highest levels, because the jump from Damnation to Heresy is so large in terms of damage and survival that only the most efficient builds usually come out on top. But if you're not playing Damnation, like, feel free to use anything. Like, it's nothing wrong with that. You don't always have to use Damnation as the guideline, you see? Now to wildfire these fools.
Initiating crowd control!
Woo.
Agreed!
Yeah, no worries, man. Everyone starts out the game somewhere, so...
Oh, buzzing! Buzzing! Indeed!
Don't you know how to shoot snakes? Damn, I Who's next? You are!
Got him.
I feel another headshot. Password. Russians dead. Stand and fight, Aubrey! Jump flag, Aubrey!
Agreed! Nation! We must prevail!
Aim at the head. Aubrey's on.
It's lifeboats! Amps! Level win!
Oh.
Oh, Heretics! Yeah. Military surprise coming up. Ever make an ogre angry? Double fashion!
Any hordes coming in, I'll handle them. Easy. Oh yeah, I've heard about EU. Like, most of the complaints that I get, Sammy, it's like, and no offense, I love my EU people. Alright, I love my EU viewers. They're amazing people. Oh shit.
A grenade! Yes, I like it! Got a present for you!
Dead and gun!
Oh, it's Heretics! I can't stop me!
Renegade station! Forward! Labor dominated!
When you're bleeding, Meta!
What's gonna happen when you are unable to play perfectly, or you don't or you're solo queue, you don't know what your team comp is gonna be like, you don't know what the quality of the players are gonna be like, you've got to protect yourself. You know, so in that circumstance, I say wound is totally fine. Wound totally works.
I'm with you!
And it has worked for me in even the worst situations. You see? I would say try to have everything orange before venturing into Damnation. that is usually a necessity, not because, you know, people want to be like, oh, we gotta have the best gear, but rather you want to have the maximum amount of preparation.
Better. I shall fight again. My thanks.
The interrogator refuses to work. Recommence. You have somehow succeeded in resolving the issue.
Ghostbusters gone!
I gotta admit, wildfire is great for the wave clear. I love the unlimited dodges on the Force Sword, it's so good.
You are certain
Oh Lord.
the data interrogator correctly.
Where the frick did I get shot from?
Not dead.
I'm very much disliking these snipers.
Healing stints for you, Ogren.
Get it! I got this box!
System 3. Update resumed. As you were.
Literally cannot even see the sniper.
You have successfully reconnected. Now maintain connection. Iterative phase nearing completion.
This might work!
Mission success confirmed. Extraction is authorized.
Outstanding! Slippery now, lads! Good work! Heretic! Stop it! Stab Alex! Send them packing! Headshots! Here's best shot!
I love how I just didn't slide into that guy. Fail. I legit failed on that one. I was planning to be all cool and sliding into them, but nah. I think you mean wildfire, but yes. I appreciate